There are moments in history when everything we thought we understood begins to fracture, when strange patterns emerge in nature, when human behavior turns chaotic, and when the world feels like it's standing on the edge of something vast, something ancient. If you've been feeling like the world is shifting in a way you can't explain, you're not alone. There's a reason so many are waking up with the same uneasy question echoing in their minds. What if we've been warned about this long ago? Throughout history, every great civilization, from the ancient Egyptians to the Mayans, from the Hebrew prophets to the mystics of the East, left behind cryptic messages about the future. Carved in stone, hidden in scrolls, or embedded in sacred texts, these prophecies were often dismissed as mythology, allegory, or primitive superstition. But what if they were more than that? What if, buried beneath the symbols and poetic language, lies a truth so profound, so terrifyingly accurate, that we chose to ignore it until now? Today, the world is experiencing a cascade of events that mirror the ancient warnings. Climate disasters strike with increasing intensity. Economies teeter on collapse. Wars erupt without clear causes, while the fabric of society itself seems to be unraveling. Technologies we once thought would liberate us now control us. Isolation, fear, and division have become the language of our times. And amidst all this chaos, the words of long-forgotten seers begin to whisper through the veil of time. This was foretold. Some say history repeats itself. Others say it's a cycle. But a few, those who dare to dig deeper, believe we are not repeating the past, but fulfilling it. Prophecies written thousands of years ago, once seen as vague riddles, are starting to make chilling sense in the light of modern events. It's as if the timeline of humanity is reaching a convergence point, one that was marked long ago by civilizations who understood more than we give them credit for. In this journey, we're not here to fear the prophecy, we're here to understand it. Because buried within its warnings are also messages of hope, of transformation, and of awakening. The question is not whether the prophecy is real. The question is, what will you do now that it's unfolding right before your eyes? This is not mythology. This is not coincidence. This ancient prophecy is unfolding now. The forgotten prophecy, what was foretold thousands of years ago. Long before skyscrapers touched the clouds and artificial intelligence began mimicking the human mind, there were civilizations whose wisdom still echoes across the ages. They did not have satellites, smartphones, or supercomputers, but they had something far more powerful, an intimate connection to the rhythms of nature, the stars, and the mysteries of life itself. These ancient people, Egyptians, Sumerians, Hebrews, Vedic sages, Mayans, left behind more than ruins and artifacts. They left messages, and some of those messages spoke not of their present, but of a distant future, a time that many now believe is unfolding before our eyes. These prophecies weren't vague or poetic musings. They were warnings, detailed, symbol-laden visions of great upheaval, of a world turned upside down, of fire, flood, and transformation. And for centuries, we treated them as curiosities, historical remnants of a time when humans feared the unknown. But what if those visions were more than just spiritual metaphors? What if they were maps, cosmic signals passed down from a more connected era to guide us through the chaos we face today? Take, for example, the ancient Mayans. For years, the world misunderstood their 2012 prophecy as a prediction of the end of the world. But the Mayans never said the world would end. They said the world as we know it would end, that a cycle would close and a new one would begin. Not destruction, transformation. The calendar was not a countdown to annihilation, but a gateway. And yet we laughed. We made memes. And then, quietly, the world did begin to change. From 2012 onward, humanity entered a period of acceleration. Climate events became more extreme. Political systems began to fracture. The internet became less a tool for knowledge and more a weapon of division. Pandemics, wars, economic instability, they came not as isolated incidents, but as cascading waves. And suddenly, the ancient words didn't sound so foolish anymore. They sounded frighteningly relevant. Look further back, to the Book of Revelation, perhaps the most famous prophecy in Western culture. Dismissed by many as religious fanaticism, its symbolism has haunted the collective imagination for centuries. Plagues, beasts rising from the sea, a world marked by deception, a system of control so total that no one can buy or sell without submitting to it. Today, as we see global systems consolidating, digital currencies rising, surveillance intensifying, and truth itself being manipulated, we must ask, were they warning us about the future we're now living in? The Hopi people of North America told of a time when the earth would be crisscrossed by webs of iron and glass, long before the invention of railways and fiber optic cables. They spoke of a day of purification when humanity would face a choice, destruction or harmony. And the ancient Vedic texts of India predicted cycles of ages, yugas, in which humanity would descend into darkness, lose its way, and eventually awaken. According to their timeline, we are now in the Kali Yuga, the age of chaos, corruption, and confusion, the age that comes right before renewal. These messages, across time and geography, are not identical, but they are startlingly aligned. They speak of the same turning point, the same collapse of systems, the same call to awaken. And yet, somehow, we have forgotten. Why? Perhaps because to remember would mean confronting a truth we are not ready for, that we are not as advanced as we think, that ancient civilizations may have understood things we are only beginning to rediscover. That prophecy is not fiction, but a mirror, reflecting our choices, our pride, and our denial. But here is the irony. Even in forgetting, we have fulfilled the prophecy. Because many of these ancient warnings began the same way. In the final days, the people will laugh at the truth. They will mock the old ways. They will believe only in themselves. And then, suddenly, the signs will become undeniable. That is where we are now. Floods in places that never knew water. Fires that rage across entire continents. The earth shaking beneath our feet. The skies darkening with smoke, storms, and strange lights. Species vanishing. Children losing hope. Mental illness spreading like wildfire. And amidst it all, an eerie feeling, one we can't quite explain, that something deeper is happening. This is not just a climate crisis. Not just a political war. Not just an economic shift. It's spiritual. It's archetypal. It's ancient. And the prophecy? It's not about punishment. It's about awakening. Because every warning was also a choice. The ancients didn't just tell us what would happen. They told us why it would happen and what we must do to change course. But we stopped listening. We called them primitive, mythological, irrelevant. Now, their words return, not with rage, but with urgency. We must remember. We must dust off the forgotten scrolls, decode the symbols, and listen, not with fear, but with humility. Because if we truly are the generation living through the unfolding of the ancient prophecy, then we are not powerless. We are chosen. Chosen to witness the end of an age and the birth of something new. But first, we must open our eyes. Not to conspiracy, not to superstition, but to wisdom, old, sacred, and waiting patiently beneath the noise of our modern world. This is just the beginning, and the signs are everywhere. We were warned. Now, we must remember. Signs all around us. Are we living in the prophetic timeline? For years, we heard the prophecies and brushed them aside, as if they were bedtime stories meant to frighten children or amuse scholars. But what happens when the very signs once dismissed as ancient imagination begin appearing in the modern world, one by one, in vivid detail? We are no longer looking for signs. They are already here. In ancient texts, symbols were used to describe what the human mind of that era could not fully comprehend. They spoke of the sky darkening, the seas rising, nations turning against each other, and a time when truth would be twisted beyond recognition. To the casual reader, it sounds poetic, almost apocalyptic. But today, in our so-called age of reason, these metaphors are no longer abstract. They are headlines. Consider the phrase often found in prophecies. Men shall become lovers of themselves. Look around. We live in an era dominated by narcissism disguised as self-love. Millions addicted to digital validation. The rise of influencers, not for their substance, but for their image. Obsession with appearance. A culture of comparison and envy. All the while, the soul is neglected. People feel more disconnected than ever, lonely in a sea of constant communication. Another ancient line reads, "There will be wars and rumors of wars." Do we even need to search for this sign? Armed conflict in every corner of the globe. Tensions rising between global superpowers. Proxy wars, civil wars, economic wars. But more insidious than visible violence is the spiritual warfare, the war for minds and hearts. Propaganda is now algorithmic. Truth is fractured. Trust is vanishing. We live in a world where it's not only hard to know who the enemy is, but what is even real anymore. The environment, too, has become a living prophecy. Fires that consume entire regions. Hurricanes that grow with frightening speed. Ice caps vanishing. Animals dying off at alarming rates. The earth itself groans, just as many ancient cultures predicted. The Hopi, the Inuit, even the Aboriginal elders of Australia all warned, when nature turns against man, it is because man has forgotten his place in the sacred order. We see technological marvels, but at what cost? The ancient warnings speak of a time when man will build great towers and attempt to be as gods. Today, we have artificial intelligence predicting our every move. Genetic manipulation that edits the very code of life. Surveillance systems that track every word, every step, every thought. We are living in the Tower of Babel reimagined, disconnected, overreaching, spiritually blind. But the most disturbing sign isn't in the skies or on the battlefield. It's in the human heart. Look at the emotional state of our time. Anxiety is the new normal. Depression has become a global epidemic. Suicide rates climb, even among children. People have wealth, comfort, freedom, but are more lost than ever before. It is as if something deep within us knows that the world is not right, that we are living in a story whose climax is fast approaching. The ancients spoke of this time. They called it the turning of the age. Some called it the great purification, others the dark night of humanity. According to the Vedic timeline, the Kali Yuga, our current age, is marked by four things: confusion, corruption, collapse of morality, and forgetting of the divine. Look around. Is that not the mirror of our moment? Even the biblical book of Revelation, filled with complex imagery, mentions the rise of a system that controls the economy, where no one can buy or sell unless they have the mark. Once, this sounded like dystopian fantasy. But now, as digital IDs, biometric data, and centralized currencies gain momentum, we must ask, are we watching that system emerge in real time? This is not to suggest that every prophecy must be taken literally, nor does it mean every new technology is evil. But what's undeniable is that too many elements align for this to be ignored. We are living in a convergence of signs, where the physical, psychological, and spiritual crises of our time echo ancient predictions. Still, the question must be asked, if the prophecy is real, then what does it mean for us? It means that what is happening is not random. It is part of a cycle, a necessary breakdown before rebirth. The ancients knew this too. That prophecy was never just about doom. It was a wake-up call, a divine alarm clock, shaking humanity from its illusions. The Mayans didn't predict annihilation, they predicted transition. The Egyptian Book of the Dead wasn't a tale of death, but of initiation. The prophecies of the East spoke not of finality, but of renewal, after cleansing, after chaos. So here we are, in the eye of the storm. And still, many continue as if nothing is wrong. Distracted, disconnected, entertained into numbness. But others, those with ears to hear and eyes to see, are beginning to awaken. They sense the energy. They feel the shift. They know the prophecy isn't just a warning, it's an opportunity. An opportunity to reevaluate our lives, to reconnect with purpose, to rebuild on truth, to remember what our ancestors knew, that human life is not only material, but deeply spiritual, that the earth is not a resource, but a living being, that we are not consumers, but caretakers, and that prophecy is not about fate, but about choice. The signs are not meant to paralyze us. They are meant to prepare us. We must not respond with fear, but with clarity, not with panic, but with wisdom. Because if we are indeed the generation standing at the edge of fulfillment, then we must be the generation brave enough to act with consciousness. You are not here by accident. None of us are. This moment in time has been whispered about for centuries. And now, we are living it. Open your eyes. Look around you. The world is speaking in a language older than time itself. This ancient prophecy is not coming. It is already here. And what comes next is in your hands. What comes next, and what you must do now. If what we are witnessing truly is the unfolding of an ancient prophecy, If the signs around us are more than coincidence, more than chaos, then the question becomes urgent, personal, and inescapable. What comes next? And more importantly, what must you do now? Prophecies were never meant to terrify. They were meant to prepare. They were warnings wrapped in sacred language, offered not to paralyze, but to empower. And if we have reached the threshold of fulfillment, then we are not merely bystanders in a story written long ago. We are participants, chosen to be here, now, at the tipping point of human destiny. What comes next is not just collapse, it is reckoning. Everything false will begin to fall apart. Systems built on deception, greed, and manipulation cannot survive the wave that is coming. The world is undergoing a great shedding. Governments, economies, religions, and ideologies, anything not aligned with truth, balance, and harmony, will be exposed. This is not punishment. It is purification. And in the process, your illusions will be challenged too. You will be asked to let go of identities that no longer serve you, relationships that are rooted in control, beliefs that keep you trapped. The prophecy is not only global, it is also deeply personal. Because transformation doesn't begin with nations. It begins with individuals. So what must you do now? First, awaken your awareness. You must begin to see beyond the surface. The news, the noise, the distractions, they are all part of the fog. But beneath it is a deeper reality. Start questioning everything. Who is shaping your perception? What is feeding your fear? What narratives are you unconsciously subscribing to? Awareness is the first act of rebellion in a world that profits from your blindness. Second, reconnect with your inner compass. You were born with an instinct, a spiritual radar that can sense truth, even when it's buried. But modern life has buried that compass under stress, addiction, and endless distraction. To hear it again, you must become still. Meditate. Reflect. Go into nature. Listen not to the world's chaos, but to your soul's quiet voice. The prophecy may be ancient, but the guidance is always within you. Third, live in alignment. The time for pretending is over. The time for half-truths and spiritual laziness has passed. You must live what you know. If you know love matters, show it. If you know the earth is sacred, protect it. If you know truth is rare, speak it. Prophecy is fulfilled not in words, but in actions. Every small choice you make either accelerates the collapse or plants a seed for the new world to grow. And make no mistake, a new world is coming. Many prophecies speak of this too. After the fire, the soil is richer. After the flood, life begins again. After the darkness, the light becomes possible. The Hopis speak of a fifth world, born after purification. The Vedic texts tell of Satya Yuga, a golden age returning after Kali Yuga ends. The book of Revelation, dark as it may be, ends not with despair, but with the vision of a new heaven and new earth. So no, this is not the end. It is the end of a cycle. A civilization built on lies cannot sustain itself. But out of its ashes, a more conscious, awakened humanity can rise, if we have the courage to let go of the old and step into the unknown. But know this, transformation is not comfortable. It is not neat. It is not easy. Just as birth is bloody and painful, so too is the rebirth of a species. You will be tested, not by some angry god in the sky, but by your own resistance, your own ego, your own fear of change. That is where the real war lies. And that is why you must do more than just observe. You must choose. Will you choose fear or faith, comfort or courage, distraction or awareness, collapse or contribution? This prophecy is not unfolding to destroy you. It is unfolding to invite you into remembrance, into responsibility, into awakening. You were not born to be afraid of the end. You were born to build what comes after. And you are not alone. All over the world, people are waking up, quietly, powerfully. They are leaving behind empty ambitions and rediscovering meaning. They are forming communities not based on greed, but on truth. They are healing their trauma, reconnecting with nature, raising their children differently. These people are not loud, but they are everywhere. They are the midwives of the new age. And you can be one of them. Let go of the need to be certain. The old world thrives on false certainty. But truth often begins as a whisper, not a fact. Follow what resonates in your bones. Move toward what makes your soul feel alive. That's the real guidance system now. You may not see the full path ahead, But you don't need to. You just need to take the next honest step. Every action rooted in integrity becomes part of the antidote to the disease of the old world. And when fear rises, and it will, remember, this moment was always coming. The ancients saw it. They tried to tell us. And now that it's here, it is no longer their prophecy. It is our reality. So step forward, not with panic, but with purpose, not with despair, but with clarity, not with blind faith, but with conscious intention, because you are the prophecy now. And what comes next is being written through you.